Guys, my name is Jenny Thompson, and this is my first episode of my podcast, Creatively Ill. It's a little difficult to start this one because I was literally just on FaceTime with my sister while a guy wielding a knife came up to her doorway and was trying to get into her house. And I was calling her, and she was not answering. Luckily, she called me back and she's fine. The cops are there, whatever. But that was terrifying. Anyway, I want to start this podcast because I want to get people talking about mental health and the way that art and creativity and all of those things all come together in a beautiful dance and make harmony, heaven. Because without those things, a lot of us would be, not to be dark, dead. So, my whole idea with this podcast is to be talking to people that also have similar things with me that are, other people would consider them bad, but they're just diagnoses that are a little bit sad. Mine being, I have clinical depression and CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a lot of different things that have happened in your life that have caused PTSD, I suppose, and generalized anxiety disorder. And I feel like the best way to start it all off, I guess, is to just tell you what maybe happened to me. When I was 6 years old, I was kidnapped by my mother, which to a lot of people probably doesn't sound like anything, because when you're kidnapped by somebody that's in your own family, it doesn't sound so bad because you're related to them. But really, my mother was on this heroin binge, all from, the way I describe it is from the East Coast, from up north all the way down south to Florida and back up again. This woman was writing fake prescriptions and buying all sorts of different kinds of drugs, especially heroin, codeine. I've seen her shoot up heroin. I've seen her nodding off in cars, falling asleep. That's where I get a lot of my PTSD from, as far as driving in cars. I cannot be a passenger in a car without freaking out, because she would be nodding off from the heroin and crash your car into, who knows, whatever's around, a construction worker, a barrier, whatever. It didn't matter. So along with that, it was my twin sister and I, and the only person that I had to keep me company during this, would be staying in hotels, staying in shelters. And to me, it felt very scary because we were being put into these adult situations. My mother was making us put bottles of drugs into our underwear because when the cops pulled us over, they can't check the kids' underwear, And also, I remember specifically this one time we were in a cul-de-sac, and we're sitting there in the cul-de-sac trying to go to sleep because it just was a good place to sleep since we didn't have money. And a cop came knocking on the door, or the window, I guess, of the car, and was like, excuse me, do you realize that there is a serial killer going around here chopping off people's heads. I don't think you want to be sleeping in this cul-de-sac. And that is one of the memories I remember most. I also remember going into Hartford. My mother would be trying to buy drugs from people or whatever. So we'd be in a car. She would always be telling us to lock the door. But like there was one time this man came into the car. He wanted a cigarette from my mother, and my mother refused to give him a cigarette. And for some reason, she just didn't care. He was like threatening the lives of me and my sister in the back seat with a fucking knife and was like, I'm going to kill your kids if you don't give me a cigarette. And my mom refused to give him a cigarette. It didn't matter that me and my sister's life was at risk. She pushed this man out of the car while it was driving. And I just remember like looking out the window and seeing him, fall away behind us while the car was driving forward. And all over what? A fucking Newport? This man was literally threatening the lives of me and my sister. Whatever. It's dark. It gets very dark. Way darker than that. There's a lot that I don't want to get into right now. I feel like it's more of something that needs to come organically when I'm talking to other people that may have gone through this, which is the whole point of my podcast. My podcast, I want to be a place where people can come and talk to me and get out their feelings and get out all of the things that like have been dark and distant in their brains and just let it all out so that they can just be free. I don't know. It's something that's helped me a lot, just being able to talk about it and just lend an ear to other people that need it and have them listen to me talk. It just feels so therapeutic. I want that for everybody else. I don't know. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long, long time. Just maybe being on radio in general. I worked at McDonald's for like 4 years. It might have been longer than that, but like I think like humbly, I want to say like 4 years. And every time I would talk into the drive-thru, these people would be like, "Oh, you have a radio voice. You have a radio voice. You need to be on radio." And I'm like, I don't know. Being like 19, 17, 16, however old I was at the time, like, it didn't just seem like something I wanted to do. But now I feel like there is a purpose to be out there and just talking to people. And the way that art has taken over my life and just like, for so long, I was working in these places that were like I worked in retail, I worked in grocery stores, I worked in factories. None of it was satisfying. And then I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to quit and I'm going to try to do my art and try to be true to myself. And like, if it doesn't work, that's fine, because I know I have all these other skills that I can do. But art was the thing that pulled me out, and just, I feel like even if I couldn't have made a living out of it, which I have, but even if I couldn't, it would have been something so beautiful and so therapeutic and just something that would have been and is just so healing. And that is what I want to prove to people, that like pulling this creativity and this art and this beauty that everybody has inside of them, especially sad people, which might sound bleak or whatever, but like sad people have so much to say and so much to give to the world and so much art, and it's so beautiful. I want to showcase that, and I want people to know that it is okay to not be okay, and just to be free with their creativity and just fall in love with themselves and not worry about what everybody thinks about them, because I know exactly what that's like. And who fucking gives a shit? Who cares what people think? It's really what you think and the art that you want to create and the beauty you want to put out into the world. And especially a time like now, this quarantine, there is no better time to just be you and create beautiful things that are true to you. And I hope that this can be something that you guys would want to listen to. I want to have other people on here, obviously, not just me talking. How boring would that be? We want people talking about their experiences and how art and creativity and whatever like makes them feel complete and whole in a world that just constantly makes you feel empty. And that is exactly what I want to show to all of you guys. And I love you. And I hope that you're going to listen to this. And yeah.